Hi, my name is Devora from Upstate and New England NCSY. Welcome to the NCSY Alumni YouTube channel. So this week we're learning Parshat Pekudei, right? It's the end of a very long narrative about building the Mishkan, and now we're finally at the end. So what's unique? What's new? What are we getting now in this additional Parsha? And I think that we can start answering that question by looking at a very pointed question at the beginning of the Parsha. It seems a little bit confusing. We open up the Parsha, Ela Pekudei, right? These are the accountings of the Mishkan as counted by Moshe. So it sounds like we're done. And we are. In Vayakhel, we described building the Mishkan, building all the vessels for the tabernacle. And now we're doing the accounting. And at the end, we're going to celebrate the building of the Mishkan with the dedication. But for now, right after Pekudei, right after the accounting, Moshe's closing the books, then we go ahead and describe the creation of the Bigdei Kehuna, of the priestly garments that the Kohanim have to wear in their service in the Mishkan. So that seems out of place, right? And Rav Samet notes that either, you could say one of two things is out of place, right? Either the accounting, for some reason, is jammed in the middle of the building of the Mishkan, or you have to say that the Bigdei Kehuna, the creation of the priestly garments, is kind of separated out from Vayakhel and stuck after the accounting. One of those two was moved. And when you figure out which of the two is moved, that'll answer your question, what's being highlighted and what can this teach us? So let's try to answer that question and then come back to the question of what's unique about Pekudei. And so to answer that question, I'm going to go back to one more element of Pekudei that's unique. Right? Rabbi Yochanan, the Midrash Tanchuma, points out that the phrase Kasher Tziva Hashem et Moshe is listed 18 times in this parsha, and not at all in Vayakhel, as God commanded Moshe. Right? What does that mean? What does that teach us? So if we look at the difference between Vayakhel and Pekudei, both describe the vessels. Vayakhel describes building them, and Pekudei describes placing them. And I think that's part of the key to the answer. In Vayakhel, you have a very technical description of the building. Let's take the shulchan, for example. You build the table, but you don't put the lechem hapanim on it. You don't put the showbread on it. You don't put it in the Mishkan. You don't put it in its proper place to do its job. So it's created, but that's not kasher tziva Hashem et Moshe. That's not God's final intent for the Mishkan. That's not the will of God. That's the building, and it's very important, but that doesn't explain really fully the whole process of the Mishkan and what it entails. So that's how we get to Pekudei. Now, the Bigdei Kehuna, the clothes that the Kohanim wore, was different, right? For those, if you think about it, it doesn't say Kasher Tziva Hashem et Moshe there, because once you make the clothes, you're really done. You don't have to do anything else to the clothes for them to do their job. Now, the obligation is on the Kohanim, right? The Kohen needs to put on his clothes. He needs to do his avodah in the Mishkan. He needs to do his service in the Mishkan, and part of that requirement is to wear the clothes. The clothes are done, but the Kohen happens to need those clothes later on. So it's kind of a different idea. As soon as the clothes are made, they are in their final, they're ready to go, basically. And that's the difference between Vayakhel and Pekudei. Vayakhel is a technical element, and Pekudei is now we're ready to go. Let's do this. Okay, and that kind of distinguishes Vayakhel and Pekudei. And both of those sides are very important. Often we read those two parshiot together. The Ramban points out that our ancestors, when they built the temple, had built the Mishkan, had no training at all. They were slaves in Egypt. But, right, it says, Neseo libo, everyone looked inside themselves and decided, I can do this. I can, even though I'm not a craftsman, figure out how to sculpt gold and build all these complicated things. And so they did, and so they built it. And the technical element really gives us an appreciation for the beauty and the splendor of this building that they made. But Pekudei reminds us to take a step back. At the end of the day, it's the whole picture. It's not just about the technical element, about every individual's contribution. There was a point to the Mishkan. There was a point, we created a space for service of God, and we need to sometimes take a step back and realize to not just celebrate the accomplishments of what we're doing, but to weave that in to our national story and our national mission, and the mission of the Jewish people.